Hello, everybody, and welcome back to From BA to Broadway. Guess who it is? It's me, Mr. Brennan Stefanik, and today I am joined by the one and the only, I know, he's thrilled about that, Mr. Jason Wetzel.
Thrilled. I don't know. I'm questioning it maybe, but
Oh, interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
For our purposes, you're the one and only, you know?
Well,
I mean, unless there's someone else with your name, but I haven't met them yet, so they're irrelevant at this point in time.
not that I've ever Googled myself, but there might be some out there.
Oh, you know, we've all done it. I do it way too frequently nowadays, if I'm being honest, but who cares? It's fun. Jason, who the heck are you, and what do you do?
I ask myself that question every day.
That's important.
I am in relationship to what we're talking about today. I am a pianist and a music director here in New York City.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Jason, how did we meet?
We met through a little class.
We sure did, indeed.
Can we say the name of the class?
We can say the name. I'll give them a plug.
Yeah, there we go. We met through actor therapy.
Indeed.
RSO and Lindsay Mendez. Yeah. And then turns out that we have all these crazy mutual friends and all this stuff. Like, that was like, oh, duh. Like, how are we just meeting? Kind of like, because
if I hadn't taken that class, I feel like we still would have met pretty darn soon anyways.
So. Yeah.
Jason, did you go to school for theater?
I did not go to school for theater.
Amazing.
But I went to school for music.
Mm-hmm.
I was a piano student, piano major. But I did, by the end of my college career, I did feel like more of a theater major. I mean, I always was like, felt more at home in the theater department than I did in the music department. Because, you know, the music department was very like, I started as a performance major, which was, you know, either to perform like Carnegie Hall, perform concert performing, or teaching at like a college level or university level. And I was never ever going to do either of those two things.
Totally.
I got into the performance major because I guess my audition was good enough or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what that was. But I switched out of that degree program fairly early on, and I always liked theater. And I was always a musical theater kid in school and in high school, like as a kid. And so I was a music student, but like literally the last like year that I was in school, I was the staff accompanist for the theater department. Like I was playing for dance, like ballet classes and musical theater, the studio acting classes.
That's awesome.
And working on their like the main stage musicals. But so like I was literally an employee of the theater department.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you think that you kind of had exposure to that as a career path, like in high school? Like I come from like very small town, and like music was very big, but like when people were thinking about music after graduation, it was like, yes, I'm going to be a music teacher, or I'm going to join the army band or whatever. Like those, it was like those two options. We were a big marching band town. It was very marching band.
We were a very big marching band high school. I don't think I ever thought of the army band as an option, but
it was a rare few, but it was really that or music teacher.
Must have been a thing there. Oh, was your music teacher related to the army band in some way?
Not at all. Oh. No. Okay. It was very much like, we have this very...
I'm trying to help, Brennan.
I appreciate it, but I'm going to be completely blatantly honest. We just were like, we have this very niche skill that we've developed and spent so many years doing. So how can I do this for a living afterwards? And I was like, army band. That's really it.
This is such a tangent now. We're talking. This episode is gonna be full of them. When I think of like army band and the marine band and all the like armed forces bands and all that stuff, all it makes me think of is my high school band room. There were always the posters up on like the board, on the bulletin board for like how to enroll and like the, you know, like because there would be like posters for like music programs for colleges and stuff.
Yeah,
There was always like the marine band and the army band and all that stuff. And it just makes me think of my high school band room.
Wild.
Yeah,
my high school band, the band room was always like the safe space, but boy was it a fucking dumpster fire. I gotta say, I love it. That was my home, but I look back and I'm like, that is so disgusting and vile. I can't even tell you. And it's partially most of our faults anyways, so whatever.
I digress.
Great. Anywho.
What were we talking about?
I did ask the question, and then I immediately started talking. It was musical theater kind of an option or career path in like high school and stuff?
Yeah, I think it was because I grew up in Eastern Pennsylvania, and like my mom and I used to come into the city like on a day trip and we would see a Broadway show. Like she took me to see my first Broadway shows, and I remember, you know, even fairly young, like I remember seeing Phantom of the Opera and being like, oh, that guy down there. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like that's, and I'd always liked musical theater and things. Like I was brought up on, you know, like my grandfather introduced me to like the movie of The Music Man. And like, you know, we would see the tours when they would come through Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And things like that. And then, yeah, I think the job, I maybe wasn't, you know, that young, like super, like what the specific job was. But I just knew that there were conductors and piano players and
For
like,
sure.
music. There were music people that
yeah.
made musicals happen. So, so I think I was pretty in on it.
Gotcha.
Early on, like I knew
That's
I wanted to
cool.
be in this industry.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. I feel like, I don't know, we also like didn't really have pits in like our drama club shows and stuff. So like, I don't know, it was never really there, but it's nice to hear that people know that kind of stuff. Cause also I'm like, we had so much talent in our music department. And if people had this as an option, like, I don't know, I feel like I wouldn't be the only person from Blackstone, Massachusetts here in the city, you know? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I went to a really small high school. Like my graduating class was like 88, I think.
Oh, okay. Mine was 97. That's even smaller than that. Wow.
I think it was 88, and so it's around the same size, and you know, it's sort of an area. It's a small area. It's an area where, you know, quote unquote, like people don't get out, like they don't leave, and even like my high school graduating class, a lot of people did move on to college and whatever, but they still sort of moved back.
Yeah.
They got their degrees and then they sort of moved back home and a lot of them, or at least, you know, the larger area, but yeah, it's just one of those places. So like, you know, a career in any arts, music, theater, whatever like that is sort of like really.
And it's scary.
Really
We're trained to believe it's scary and we're in those kinds of environments.
Oh yeah.
Totally heard. Nice. So you are an accompanist, you are a music director, I feel like you are the fly on the wall that I feel like you probably collect all of the information that all people like me want to know, you know? I feel like you are in all of the spaces, hearing all of the conversations. And like, yes, you have stakes in it for sure, but also like, you don't have to if you don't want to, it kind of seems.
No, well, I mean, if I'm a music director, then it's a little different because then you're part of that conversation more so than if you're like an audition pianist.
Yeah.
If I'm playing auditions, I get to hear everything. And it is, you know, that is a confidential room, obviously, you know. I mean, I can tell you audition stories, but
of course.
But yeah, we get to see it and hear it all.
It's fascinating.
It is. And while auditions are on the table here, I am one. I don't know if there are a lot of us in New York. I know there are some others, like some friends of mine, but I personally love playing auditions. I love it.
Amazing.
And I think there are some people out there that do it because there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it pays well and all that stuff. But I don't know if they necessarily enjoy it.
Heard.
Because the sight reading thing is, you know, that is a skill, and if it's not your skill, it might not make it an enjoyable experience for you. But I love playing auditions. I love it.
How long have you been playing piano?
Piano?
Yeah.
I started when I was 6.
That checks. You are a very good pianist. Not to inflate that ego, but you are very good at what you do.
Yeah. My mom was just. My mom took piano lessons when she was young, and she can still sit down and like sort of like plunk notes out and everything. And her mom, my grandmother, was the organist at our church growing up.
Yep.
So she played very well. And like, so my mom's side of the family was musical. My great grandfather on that side of the family was toured with a big band. I think he was a vibraphone player.
Oh my God, amazing.
And another like great something grandfather on my mom's side, on another side, whatever. Actually opened a school of music in our little hometown, and like,
God,
like the turn of the century 1900s, kind of like
crazy.
Opened a little music school.
That's so cool.
So like it's in there in the family, and my mom just was like, "Do you want to take piano lessons?" And I was 6, so I was like, "Yeah, sure." Like I don't know. Yeah, okay,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
there was one year when they had me play the marimba for a show.
That was my high school instrument.
I was terrible. I was so bad. And I was promptly asked not to be doing that again the next time, which was so fine. My heart belonged in the drum line anyways, but, you know.
So you were a drummer?
Yeah, I was a snare drummer for, like, 7 years.
So drums, that was my high school instrument.
Amazing.
My school instrument, like in school and marching band, whatever. I was a drummer because my uncle, my mom's brother, was a drummer in like a rock band when I was growing up, and it was always cool. And we had the instrument day when you were a kid, and you got to try out different instruments to figure out what you wanted to do, and one of them was drums, and that was the one. But then this is in like 5th grade when I think we had that instrument day. I think it was like 4th or 5th grade or something like that, and all of a sudden, the band director knew I played the piano. He was like, well, there's a glockenspiel part for this song. Right. So I'm going to give this to you because you're the only drummer in 4th grade that can actually read pitches.
Yes.
And I was like, great. So that's actually what I became. I mean, like the snare drumming went away really quickly. Like I could sit down at a drum kit today and like keep basic time. For sure. Like make time, but like that coordination left.
Yeah.
But I can still like 4-in-hand that marimba shit. Like it was,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also I didn't care. I didn't. I'll be the first to say I didn't read like music like that. Sure. So I was like, I don't know why I'm your best option. That's actually really unfortunate, but I'm going to do my best and I'm not going to stress out too much. And that's kind of what happened.
It's weird parallels with this, like the drumming.
Yeah,
and
no kidding.
Yeah.
Jeez, love that for us. Yeah.
Small town, small school.
I know. Can't play piano to save my life. So that's where it ends, unfortunately.
I can't sing to save my life.
Oh my God. You know what? I'm getting there. We're working on it.
You're doing just fine.
Speaking of which, I don't know. I didn't have vocal training coming in college. I didn't have vocal training, and I didn't start like getting into that until after I graduated to like actual vocal training. What is your take on like what is necessary when entering this field, this world?
Well, I mean, there are so many excellent musical theater programs out there at schools, at colleges and universities. I mean, and of all different levels. That doesn't, I think in terms of vocal training, and also to say, like, there are people that have excellent voices that are just raw talent that have not had training. Like there's some in classes now that
for sure
that are fantastic, and and I've known people who have not gone to college, who have come right to New York and didn't go to school and are, singing on Broadway times a week. So, I think vocal training is important because I think there's the health, aspect of it that makes sure you're doing it, that you're going to maintain your voice and you're going to be able to do this for a long time and that you're doing everything the right way.
For sure.
So I think that's really important, whether you do go to a program or not. I think that especially, and also the different styles that musical theater requires of your voice. If you're a belter and you're singing like, rock pop and you're like screaming Moulin Rouge 8 times a week, versus like an ensemble member in like Merrily or Days of Wine and Roses. Yeah, may she rest in peace. Oof. But that kind of, if you're, look at a Kelly O'Hara. That's
totally.
So I that's obviously there's training obviously there, like you can tell what a trained voice is, but and even if you don't go to the program, like if you're gonna just come right to New York City or whatever, I mean, like still take voice lessons, find a voice teacher, and make sure you're doing it correctly, make sure you're gonna have the vocal health and the stamina to do it for a long time. And I think that's super important.
Is there any like basic skills that you tend to see people not having, where you're like, this is you got to have this if you're going to be coming into these rooms and doing these things?
I unfortunately I don't think it's completely necessary, but the skill that most people don't have is the actual reading of music.
Gotcha.
Like there are enough people that read well enough, but I wish singers are musicians too.
Yes.
And we sort of tend to think of singers separately as we do like the musicians that are in the orchestra pit.
Totally.
The instrumentalists, so to speak. And singers are musicians, and I wish more of them read music and understood what was on the page. Even there, like I said, there are some that have, a little bit, and I remember in college, and this was when the BFA program, the theater BFA, musical theater BFA program, when I first started college, didn't even exist, but there were musical theater students in like a BA or whatever, and they would come to me and be like, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And they were like, I remember their mindset being, oh, I'm never going to need this sight singing class. Yeah. I'm never going to need this like basic music theory they're making me take.
Heard.
Yeah, you are.
For sure.
Yeah, you are. Because you know when that sight singing is going to come in handy? When you have a 36-hour reading. Mm-hmm. That's when it's going to come in handy. Because you don't have a cast album to listen to learn it. You know, you're already going to pay me, hopefully, you know, for tracks and coaching to learn that music. So, like, but man, that would help so much if you could just like sight read that. Not, you know, it doesn't have to be great, but like, but to help learn that music when you have 36 hours.
For
like,
sure.
Anyway.
You don't need perfect pitch, folks.
No,
like, that's not that kind of thing.
Yeah, I just wish the musical training sometimes was stronger.
Yeah. I do think that's important too.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a huge facet of it. And I think that's very easy to overlook. You know, it really is. And also, it is something that ends up coming to you the more you do it. But like, you need to have those foundations. You really, I don't know. You do.
Yeah.
You do. Okay. This is one of my favorite topics ever because I feel like we're told so many things. What is the expectation for us as actors interacting with an audition accompanist?
The $64,000 question.
Exactly. Because I feel like I am told 9 million things and every single one is conflicting with one of the others, you know?
So I literally have a 2-hour masterclass that I give on this topic.
Oh, no way.
Yep. And I also have an hour version that I do in winter and summer intensives. But I actually just gave this masterclass a couple days for the Florida Thespian Conference. And it's literally all about the musical side of the audition.
Gotcha.
But like talking to a pianist, there are certain things that I think help sort of get the audition pianist on your side right off the bat. And I think one of those is what we were just talking about. If you come across as knowing what you're talking about, like musically, and you're pointing these things out, and you're not just like pointing out where you drew this line on your sheet music, but like you're actually talking to me like a musician.
Yeah.
Now, this is not me. I think this is for a lot of other people. Right. I have my own audition philosophy that I'm going to come back around to.
Gotcha.
But I think that helps because then they're like, oh, they know what they're doing. And it sort of like you establish like a relationship really quickly a little bit.
Gotcha.
But there's no real one way because every audition pianist is different.
For sure.
They're all different. Some of them, like we were talking earlier, some of them hate being there. And your audition, unfortunately, is on the worst day of their life.
100%.
So far.
Great.
Because tomorrow, guess what?
It's going to be even
It's going to be the worst day of their life again.
God.
So there's not really one, thing. If you come in and you're just in control of your audition and you're just like, nicely and everything, but like, we're going to do this. And then, here it goes to B flat and whatever like that. I think that's just like, yeah, great.
For sure.
Just be really calm and clear and all that stuff. Now, like I said, I have my own personal philosophy about audition playing, and that is I don't care. My personal philosophy is that I don't care because it is your audition. It is not about me, the pianist. It's about you. Yeah. It is your time. And however you talk to me, however you whatever shape your book is in, like, yeah, there are things like I hate when the rings on your binder don't close. That is my only pet peeve. But like, am I going to call you out? No, of course not. And it's fine. And we're all going to move on. And my job is to make you sound good. Yeah. Right? I'm there to support you. This is your audition. So whatever. And I know this is going to come around to other things, but like, I wish more people sort of had that approach a little bit and just like let go of some things because it's not about you. It's not about us. Totally. It's about the whoever the auditioner is.
Yes. We are told so many things. And I think that's another thing is people are walking in the room terrified because they're like, okay, before I even get to this table of casting people, I first have to nail this interaction and I don't want to do the wrong thing and I don't want to make them hate me. And then you put the music down and you're like, oh my God, they absolutely hate me. They really hate me. Right. Okay, hi, my name is Brennan Stefanik. I'll be saying, oh.
Yeah, no actor should ever walk into a room not wanting to talk to the person that is going to make them sound good. Yeah. Or help them sound good. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like, that should never be the situation. I'm on your side, baby. I'm on your side.
What's your feeling on sheet protectors? Pro, against?
In the audition pianist community in this city, there is a civil war happening about whether to use sheet protectors or not. And then the subreddit of glare versus non-glare.
Okay.
Like, it is a thing. And the Facebook music director groups just explode with opinions about it. Again, my personal philosophy, I don't care. If you like sheet protectors in your book, great. Then they're in your book. If you don't, then they're not. It's your book. It's your audition.
Amazing.
I'm going to turn the page, whether it's paper or whether it's plastic, right?
Yeah.
I will say for me, this does not change that at all. Sheet protectors on certain songs are nice because I can sort of like swipe it really fast if I have to. If it's like a really crappy page turn or like the song is really fast. If like someone is, God forbid, singing Franklin Shepherd Inc. in an audition, don't do that. Then I can like swipe that page really fast. You know what I mean? Like just by like the plastic, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like grabbing paper at the corner and like, know, whatever. That is like, that is the most minuscule thing. Ultimately, it doesn't matter to me. I get the glaring, non-glare. I get all that argument, you know, when the window at Ripley Greer is behind us and the sun's coming in, whatever. If I have to like sort of like do a little dance on the piano bench to like get the right angle, like I'll do that.
Yeah.
Again, it's not about me. I'm just going to play your song for you.
That's so refreshing.
It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about you.
Yeah.
So anyway, but there are a lot of strong opinions, and it goes back to what we were saying. There's no one answer. There's no right or wrong answer because everyone, you know, you don't know what that audition pianist thinks.
Yeah.
So you just have to go in and be like, you know.
For sure.
I would like to go back to my 3-ring binders, though, for a second.
This is your soapbox.
Okay,
you stand
so
on it.
Here it is. This is my only rant. I promise this is my only rant. Okay, so it is my one pet peeve. So y'all know that when you have a 3-ring binder, right? And you have your binder, it has the little buttons at the top and bottom to pop open the rings, right? Use those buttons. When you grab the ring with your fingers and pull it open that way, I wish you could see the visual I'm giving you. When you grab it open by the rings, that breaks the rings. It breaks the mechanism in the rings, and then eventually they won't close. So when you turn the page will get stuck in that little gap that's there now in the ring. That is my only pet peeve. So the little tabs at the top and bottom are there. They are there for you. I promise I'm not getting like kickback money from Staples. It will make your binder last longer. Just use the tabs. Don't pull the rings.
Yeah. I mean, we all know. Okay. We've all done it. Like, we've all been in middle school before. We know that exact issue.
Oh my God.
Don't do it, folks.
Now I need a drink.
That's okay. We can provide, for sure.
No, it's like 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh my God.
No, that is my one rant. It's just, it drives me crazy because when I turn the page and it gets stuck in there and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
It just, because I don't want to mess up for you.
For sure. Yeah.
And you're giving me something that is making me mess up for you.
For sure. I mean, we did talk about books a couple of weeks ago, and like the thing we were just like is like, just make it easy for everyone. Like, it should be easy for you. It should be easy for the accompanist. It should be anyone that has to look or touch that thing. It should just be simple. It's
one of the big like sort of overarching themes of this masterclass that I do about auditions, and where we say remove all the variables.
Gotcha.
An audition is like nothing but variables. Like you don't know who's going to be at the table, how many people are going to be at the table. The room could be 30 degrees or it could be 80 degrees.
And it's only going to be one of those two options.
Right. This is true. If you know, you know. You don't know who the pianist is going to be. You don't know is it going to be one of the tiny little rooms of the big room? Are you going to go be the 20th person, or are you going to be the 1,000th person? You know, like there's it's nothing but variables. So any variables that you can remove from that just makes it a more expected situation.
For sure.
And that one of those things is your book, is how your book is prepared, how your music is marked, all that stuff. You're removing variables that give you a more consistent, expected.
Totally.
You know, no matter who that pianist is, you know what it's going to sound like.
Gotcha. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's exactly, I don't know, that's very nice to hear and very refreshing because, once again, we're told so many freaking things. Another thing we're told so many freaking things about.
Oh, no.
How do you give your tempo to the accompanist? Because you can't snap, you can't clap, you can't tap your foot, you can't sing the song to them, you can't look at them, you can't breathe at all.
I just want someone to like put their fingers on their head and look at me like telepathically. I'm like, got it. I got your tempo. So I get the snap thing, and there have been audition pianists who have been like don't snap at me, whatever. Like you can, like if you're singing something jazzy and you're like snapping your fingers down by your side, like, you know, like you were singing da da ba da ba da ba ba ba, something like that. If you're like snapping it in their face, like 1, 2, 3, 4, you know what I mean? Then that's probably not a good idea.
Heard.
If, you know, my favorite way is the tap your chest while you're singing it.
Okay.
The reason I like that one is because I can hear that, but you feel that.
Yes.
And if you feel that, then that gives you a better sense of like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, that's great for both of us. Because also too, like nerves come into play. And I expect that too. Like, you know, like the snap thing. Like if you're like coming in and you're terrified, if you're like, you know, whatever, and like you just start snapping your finger, whatever, like I get it. It's fine. Again, it's not about me. I don't care. But like, I like this, you know, and you know, it's just nice to like sort of sit in that. And you, like I said, you feel that beat and you know that's right. A friend of mine who just recently said to me that she really loves the time that she gets to talk to the pianist at the top of an audition.
Oh, amazing.
Because that's her moment to be like, okay, I'm in the room. I'm here. It's time to do the work. Like that's her grounding moment.
It can be like a really nice buffer,
Yeah.
you know? It's just dealing with one person before the potential masses.
Yep. And because you never want to rush through that time with your audition pianist. You know, take your time. Again, it's your audition. Take the time. Make sure that I know everything that I need to know. Don't rush through it. And use that time to just be like, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
This is what I brought in today. This is what I'm gonna do. It goes like this. And then you turn around and you're like ready to go. You know what I mean? So
Heard. Say you're Frankensteining your music. What are the do's and don'ts? You know, obviously make it as easy as possible, but like, what would you say the ways to do that are?
I would say a couple things. Don't like, you know, Frankensteining a cut is fine. Like if that makes the cut work, great. Whether you do it digitally, like on like Adobe or like Preview or something or whatever, or you literally do. I love a good arts and crafts moment. I love when you have to get out those scissors and the glue stick. I'm here for it. Like I seriously, when you pull that shit out on me in an audition, and I see that you've like cut things out and taped it on paper, or you have like taped pages together to fold them out so I don't have any page turns, like a true arts and crafts moment. I appreciate that so much because you did it to remove a variable for me to make my life easier, and you also you're showing that you're like putting the work in. Like you're really trying at this. Like you didn't run this off single-sided from music notes this morning.
For sure.
So like, but back to the Frankenstein cuts, like one thing, don't try not to have like 2 measures on a page.
Oh,
because now you're just like adding page turns for me and things like that.
Yeah.
Like that's with the arts and crafts. Like cut those out or you know, or digitally or whatever. But like, you know, make a full page out of those bars that you're cutting. Like then I don't have to like keep turning pages. Also, I will say with Frankenstein cuts and certain pop songs that have codas.
Yes.
If I don't have to turn back, because then the whole time I'm playing that song, you know, like when you get to the DS and you have to go back to the chorus and then you jump to the coda, whatever. Then all I'm thinking about is I have to go back to page 3. It's on page 3. I have to go back to page 3. I have to go back to page 3. So that when I get to that jump, I'm like, okay, here's page 3, just so I remember where the sign was.
Yes.
So my suggestion for things like that would be just recopy certain pages so that I'm always going right.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? I'm always going in that direction
for sure.
with page turns as opposed to turning pages back.
For sure.
Takes like 2 seconds. Like you just have to like maybe recopy page 3
100%.
and then just jump to the coda.
Yeah.
So I'm always reading left to right.
For sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, folks, if you don't know what a coda is, that's your musical assignment homework. Go YouTube, check it out because they're everywhere. That's nice to hear though, for sure. Yeah. I also am one, as you know, to just make a star, cross everything out, and then another star where we pick up.
Yeah,
so
but
like,
that's perfect. Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
And some people do. There can be over marking your music.
Oh, 100%.
Like there can be, you know, if you have, like let's say you're using one line on one staff on a piece of music before we jump ahead. So there's like, let's say there's like 16 measures on a page that you're not using. Like you don't have to cross out every single measure. Just put one big X over that whole chunk. You know what I mean? Like, because then when you start to do too much stuff, then my eye can't go to what I'm supposed to be looking at.
Gotcha.
Because there's so much going on.
For sure.
And it just is like, I can't focus on where my eye is supposed to be. I just see markings everywhere. Some people do like you do, like the star to the star and all that stuff. Some people do it like color coded. They're like blue to blue.
Oh, okay, great.
So like I see a blue highlighter and then I turn the page and there's a blue highlighter. And I know blue to blue,
that.
which is great. I have also seen some people do blue to blue and then their next cut will be orange to orange. And then their next cut will be pink to pink. You know,
they're so
the
quirky.
The logic is still
so quirky.
It works, but like, you know, I don't need every color. Like blue to blue. The next one can be blue to blue too.
Yeah.
Like it's fine.
I gotcha.
It's fine.
Oh, I love that.
But you
to
know,
each their own in that regard.
Again, as it's your book. You do it. If
Yeah.
you like, you know, if you like spending your time on that, that's fine. That's not super distracting, but it's just, you know,
100%.
have to do that. It's, you know,
Totally.
yeah.
I mean, in terms of auditions, just any other do's and don'ts that come to your brain?
I mean, in terms of, a general don't is a do, but just be a human.
Yeah.
Just come in and be a person. Like, you know, say hi and act like a normal human being. Like,
Yeah.
you know, try and, I mean, I'm sure that, you know, there are times you go into a room and you're terrified. I'm sure that whatever, you know, energy and emotions are going on, but just come in and say hi and just be a nice person and like, hey, you know, say hi to the table.
Yeah.
Say hi to the table. Come over and say hi to me and, you know, talk to me. And like, sometimes it's hard to like drop the robotic
For sure.
sort of facade of like, I am going into my job interview now. And,
Yes.
and I'm going to say all the right words.
There's a lot of pressure to do that, you know?
There is. And it's just, you know, do's and don'ts for me. Again, I told you my philosophy. I'll go along with anything if that's what you're comfortable with.
That's great. I think everyone should probably operate under the impression that that is how their accompanist will act.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's better to do that and just go with the flow in that regard.
Yeah.
And hope for the best.
Again, if you show that you know what you're doing and that you're in control of this moment, then you're the alpha. I'm gonna do what you tell me to do.
For sure.
You know, I'm not ever gonna not do what you tell me to do, but yeah. And again, I've already proven that sometimes there are things that irk me, but I'm not gonna let that bother me when I'm playing your song. You know.
Yeah. That's great.
You know. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So then on the flip side, you are a music director.
Yeah.
What are we expecting of actors coming into a process?
I think it depends on the process. We were talking about like 36-hour readings and workshops, you know, like I think new material is one thing, especially with a limited time, like a reading. A lot of times you might not even get that music until you get there.
Yeah.
Until you get to day one. So, and again, that's where a little bit of sight singing or sight reading would be really helpful.
For sure.
I think, you know, you really do have to put the work in on projects like that, though, because it's up to you to go home and come back in the next day and be ready to go. If you're coming into like a rehearsal, like let's say we're doing a musical, you know, a full musical, if you're coming into rehearsal, I think it's always great. I don't think you need to come in the first day of school off book. Like that's crazy talk. Like if you've done the role before, maybe you are just because, but I'm prepping, I'm doing a production of Funny Girl this summer.
Oh, awesome.
And we have some cast members who have done their roles before. So I'm sure they're ready to go. And, you know, and it'll be nice and easy. Like we can get right to some good music talking stuff.
Gotcha.
As opposed to like, here are the notes of your song.
For sure.
You know, I think, you know, that production of Funny Girl I'm doing is sort of regional summer stockish kind of thing. So that's another situation where there's like a shorter rehearsal period. We rehearse for a little over 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or so, on that production, which is a decent amount of time. But if you come in fairly familiar with your track, then I think musically, then I think that's going to be super helpful.
For sure.
You know, we're still going to sit down and separate everyone out into sopranos, altos, tenors, and basses.
Of course.
And we're gonna learn all of our parts and everything. And I'm going to give you cut off on 3. Oh no, let's make it 4.
Amazing.
And we're going to do all that. But you know, if you're at least familiar with everything, that's going to be incredibly helpful because we just don't have the time.
For sure.
Yeah, it's just anything that shows you're putting the work in and you're being proactive and, you know, you don't want to leave any project, whatever it is, being like, boy, we really had to drag them along, didn't we?
Totally.
You know what I mean? Or like to come off as quote unquote high maintenance or needy, or like, boy,
Totally.
like we really like, they just didn't step it up, and we just,
Yeah.
that kind of any negative, like,
Of course. Yeah,
it's your job. Like,
and I feel like this is an area that I personally overthink like a ton. When my first regional gig ever was Dogfight, a marathon and a half. And I wasn't even familiar with the show when I booked it, ironically, which was amazing, honestly. But I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, they must have made a mistake. Like, what's going on? And so, like, I tried to do everything I possibly could, and I showed up, and I was still freaking terrified, man. Sure. Especially with, like, all the voice parts, because there's only six guys and all that stuff. And then I went in, and then it was just the stakes are always way lower than you make them out to be.
Of course.
And it's important to like reel that in and kind of just remember that. But it can be very daunting, especially for the people out there who don't consider themselves to be super musically inclined,
Right, totally.
It's that kind of thing where the space can just be very daunting, but like everyone is there to accomplish the same goal, and everyone will do what they can within their power to get you there. So like, folks, don't be stressed. Don't be too stressed. Like, listen to your cast recording, of course, like familiarize yourself a little bit. Don't marry yourself to anything, and just kind of go with the flow.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Like, being familiar and going in with like the cast recording memorized cold in your brain, and that is what is in your brain.
Yes.
That's too much. You know what I mean? Like,
For
just
sure.
listening to the cast album once or twice, get familiar with it, but go in and ultimately trust your team to do their job.
Yes.
You have to trust your creatives, your director, your music director, your choreographer, or whatever. You have to trust us to do our job. And that goes in the audition room too.
For sure.
Let us do our job.
Yeah.
Don't do our job for us.
We don't need to. That's literally, it's not our job, so we don't get paid to do that. Yep.
And let us do our job. Let us put you where we think. You were talking like the vocal parts when there's only like 6 people. It's like, well, we think you can do it. So just trust us in our professional opinion, that we know what 100%. We're doing, and we think that you can do that.
Yeah.
And also too, the version of the show that you're going to do is not going to be the cast recording version. It's going to, it's going to be different. And the choral rehearsals, like I was talking about, like, I might put you on a different part, or, let's switch these parts around and make them higher. And like,
sure.
like I get to do all that if I want. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think folks, trust that the people that are hiring you are also hiring the right people in the other departments and regards and stuff, because if it turns out that they might not have, they will probably know, and the onus is not on you. It's really not. So that is just not something you need to worry about. You just go in, you prepare yourself to do your job, because that's it. That's all you should do. That's all you need to do. Theater is so fun, but also like you're like, it's so easy to like forget that like this is a job, like I go into every other job and I'm like, that is above my pay grade. Like, I'm not dealing with that. Granted, like it's a survival job that I don't care about, but like I'm like, that can be exactly what is happening when you are performing in a show in this fun world. And the bonus is that you actually care about it and get to do what you love, But there are things that are above your pay grade, and you don't have to deal with that.
That is so true. That is so true. I think I would probably bet if anyone listening thinks to like at the end of their first day of school, their first day of rehearsal, like, oh, I feel so much better now. Like everyone is in the same boat. We're all learning the show together. Even the director and the music director and everyone who have been pre-proing for weeks, coming up with our plans and whatever, until we get everyone there. Yeah. We don't know if that's going to work necessarily. Whatever. We're all in this together, and we're all doing it. 99% of the times that theater is stressful, it's probably you making it stressful.
100%.
And that goes for me too, though.
Oh, for sure.
I get terrified. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I still get like, not terrified, but like I still get anxious on like the first day of school, because I know it's all music. Yeah. And I know I'm going to have 20 people looking at me who don't know what they're doing yet. Yeah. Looking to me for guidance and answers. And I just hope that I'm giving them the right answers. Yes. At least for now. And that they trust me, and that they like are willing to go with me on the ride.
For sure.
So that tomorrow they're like, boy, that guy's a real idiot.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
No. Nobody wants that.
No. So
but the chances are that's not going to happen.
No. I give myself my own stress too. I get
it. For sure.
Yeah.
And then also 60% of the time, folks, you are going to walk in and there is going to be at least one person who seems to be like eons more prepared than you. And they're going to be an asshole about it. And they will let you know that they've done the role before. And then you know that is their excuse. That is the reason. And you can just cast that out of your brain and do you, just do you, you know?
They've done the role, but they haven't done it for us.
No, exactly.
And that is like, that's a good thing too. Cause like I've done shows where we have hired someone who, did the role on like the national tour and did it for like a whole year. And one of the things that we always ask, we're like, how flexible would you say that you are? Like, are you willing to forget all that direction and all that to, let us, bring you on and do our show? For sure. And that's a big thing. You can rent the costumes and rent the sets and it might look like the same show, but like, I want you to do what we're giving you to do. Yeah.
For sure.
Not what, Casey Nicolau told you to do on the tour.
Of course.
Sorry, Casey. I just pulled your name. Just an example.
You're a legend. You're doing fine. I promise. For all our dreamers out there, do you find? I mean, shout out to the dreamers first of all. What do you think the differences are, or what do you see differently between rehearsal rooms from regional to Broadway to all that kind of stuff to tour, or the similarities, what is the strings that tie them together and what are the myths that can be dispelled?
I think one thing about Broadway is there is not completely, but there is much more sense of coming into your job and going home at the end of the day.
Gotcha.
And I'm not saying that you're not forming relationships. I'm not saying any of that, but there is a sense of like coming to work, regionals, when you're out of town and especially national tours, when you're working together, but you're living together too.
For sure.
Much different situation. I think that regional theaters when, you're all in like housing together and national tours when you're all in the same hotel, some tours not maybe, but non-union like bus and trucks when you're like, you wake up and you get on a bus together. You stop at the mall and have lunch together.
Of course.
You get back on that bus together. You go to the hotel and check in together. You're all on like floor 12 and then you all go to the show together. You come back, you all do your laundry together. You all go to the bar after the show together. You know what I mean? Like you are literally with those people. Like that is a much different party than like working on Broadway where it's you're here and you get to go home.
For
sure. You get to go back to your apartment.
And you have your life.
And you have your life and you have your family and you have your dog and you whatever. So that's a really different thing. And I think and then the same with regional too, where you just get to hang out. And sometimes, like summer stock and regional, there is a looseness about the after work, where you are all going home together, but it's like, oh, we're going to like all hang out and watch Drag Race tonight and BYOB, everyone comes over and like,
For sure.
It's there's a lot more of that sort of fun, like creating the home away from home.
So, and that's the given circumstance too, that's expected.
Exactly. And I think that those kind of things can bleed into the rehearsal room a little bit because of the relationships that are being created. And everyone's like in this together a little bit more than, rehearsal room on Broadway where it is very like, and also too on Broadway, I don't want to say the stakes, but the money, especially on the line, is far greater. Yeah. Like you're now working on a production that is tens of millions of dollars.
100%.
So you better come in and like do your job.
And then go home and do your homework.
The job comes first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's that. The business aspect is the business aspect and the way it relates in the rehearsal room or whatever, the way it relates in how you come in and do your job and everything and how you relate to everyone else and like all that. The business is a much more present thing when you're on a Broadway show. Just because of the scale of it all.
100%.
Yeah.
And Broadway actors are not robots, folks. Like,
Oh, no. No, they're all still...
worry about it. Like, there is camaraderie and stuff, but it's easier for that to continue and develop after your show has opened, you know? And
look at all the Broadway actors that slept on a bus years ago.
100%.
That how many of them started on those non-union bus and truck tours and slept on an egg crate on the eggshell crate thing on the floor of the bus and like, you know.
That's pretty doom and gloom.
That's truth. That's truth.
That's terrifying.
That's truth. I always slept in a seat.
I would prefer to do that.
I did it. I did my bus and truck non-unions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like what have you done?
I did.
Drop some names.
I did the producers. I did 2 years of the Drowsy Chaperone. I did 1 season of the Grinch. The Grinch was a little different. It wasn't a bus and truck because it's a limited seasonal thing. So we flew and we were playing like major cities. It just happened to be a non-union tour. So that felt very much like a union tour, but in that sense.
Yeah.
And I've also played tours as a local, like before I was living in New York City. But then I moved, and then my next tours then became union. I did my first union tour was Young Frankenstein.
Nice.
And I did a year of Young Frankenstein, just shy of a year, and then I just finished Into the Woods last year.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
That's amazing. That must have been so fun.
That was so fun.
Were you with it on Broadway?
I was with it in some capacity from day one of City Center.
Gotcha.
I was a rehearsal pianist at City Center, and then I was an orchestra sub on Broadway, and then did the tour.
Amazing.
Yep.
That is really amazing. Yep. Good for you. You're doing the thing.
It was a thing, and I did it.
Yeah.
And
are you eager to do it again? You eager to get on the road again?
I loved touring back in the day. Like, and
back in the day,
as grueling as some of those bus and truck tours can be, looking back, like I really loved being on the road because I love traveling, and like even when you're playing these like little small towns and stuff, like I love getting off a bus and being like, where am I gonna get dinner tonight? What's the thing to do here? Where's the bar? Like even when you're over there, only if it's a one nighter, but like just like the exploring and like seeing what this is all, what this place is all about and the people, like, and different theaters, like seeing like some of these theaters are like gorgeous and they're just like lost in these like little town in Alabama. But and I wasn't sure because I hadn't toured. Young Frankenstein was like 2012, I think. 12, 13, 11, 12, something like that. And then I hadn't toured since until Into the Woods last year. And I was wondering, even though Into the Woods also was like kind of, we were really sitting down for like a week was the shortest. And we were flying mostly everywhere and we had a lot of breaks. So it didn't feel like a tour, but I was wondering how it would feel to be out on the road again like that with a show. And it was fantastic. I mean, like it's truly like, it's sort of a weird cliche story of like how something that can be the most magical thing in your career happened so much later in your career.
Heard.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I
mean, like Broadway debut, conducting on Broadway, all these things, playing, whatever, this and that, working with quote unquote celebrities, whatever. But then like Into the Woods was just like one of the most, if not the most magical thing that I've ever done. Like that experience was just so golden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's difficult when you are touring like that to maintain feel like you have a home base, or are there ways that you have learned to navigate that kind of thing?
On Woods, like I said, we had a lot of breaks. We had a lot of layoffs, and we had a joke that I think stemmed from an actual sort of quote or directive or something that we weren't a tour. We were a quote 10-city limited engagement.
Of course,
I know. We were so bougie. So, because we had a lot of layoffs, we would go out, we had a layoff, we'd go to Chicago for 2 weeks and we'd come back home.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like a tour in that sense. So the home base was a lot easier to sort of navigate.
Gotcha.
There. And because there were literally times when it never felt like we left. But on a tour, I think the like when you're doing a long tour, especially the non-union bus and trucks, but even even like, even a union tour, even like maybe a lower tiered CETA tour where the schedule is not super, but it's okay. And, I think one thing is when you're traveling so much, you sort of like, at the same time, it might make you miss home. I think you're sort of like constantly going.
For sure.
And then like, it's sort of like almost like a blink and then it's over.
Gotcha.
Because you really just like, it's like so nonstop. Mm-hmm. But it can be. It also, I think when you're younger, if you're doing like, a lot of younger people who are doing non-union tours, I also think their idea of what a home base is might be different.
Heard.
And maybe their home base, maybe their home isn't as established. Like,
yeah,
maybe they don't have like long-term partners or, like situations like that,
Yeah.
And they can just, they're just like subletting their apartment while they're gone and they come back and just jump right back in. And,
Yeah.
I'm very settled in my home life here in the city. So that might be a little harder to be out consistently for that long.
Yeah.
Which is one reason why that Into the Woods tour was so great, because we just had so much time to come back and do things. Yeah.
That rocks.
But yeah, it's different depending on your situation. But yeah, some people, I also, and with all due respect to my other half, I also don't always have like this strong, like homing pigeon sense to like come back.
Okay.
Like if I'm traveling, like I love traveling. Like I want to like, let's keep going. Like, like I like seeing new places and all that stuff. So like, that's fun. I mean, eventually I want to come home, but but I like that. I enjoy that. So I like being out.
For sure.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Oh, look at you. What a multifaceted, multi-hyphenate.
Oh,
wow.
Multi-hyphenate.
Yeah.
Make me far more famous than I ever could be.
I mean, that's what I do on this podcast. I got to seem like I'm bringing on the big wigs, I need to have the credibility. Duh. I'm absolutely going to be advertising you as Broadway's Jason Wetzel.
I mean, it's... Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what you signed up for. I'm sorry. That's what you signed up for when being my friend.
Take the note, Jason.
Absolutely.
Take the note.
Absolutely. We're all here for each other. Thank you.
I hate taking compliments. Thank you.
I think we kind of nailed this. I can't really think of too many other
I feel like we talked about a lot of different things.
I agree. They're experts now. Congratulations, folks. You have made it. You've done it.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you everyone so much for your support. As always, you can be our biggest supporters by finding us on Patreon. That is patreon.com/BA2Broadway. Disclaimer, as we always do, we will not be gatekeeping any information on there. That is for fun bonus content, little silly stories. There's been some really good stuff on there lately, folks, so I definitely recommend you check it out. Also, you might see a little sneak preview as to something else that's going to be coming on here. Nonetheless, get hyped for that and keep an eye on us on social media and stuff at BA to Broadway. Jason, I feel like you're not on social media. Is that correct?
I am a pretty limited presence on social media.
Okay.
This might come as a surprise in this day and age. I'm not on Instagram.
I have learned that about you.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this is bonus content.
Okay, great.
Info. So
then don't say it. We're gonna do it in the bonus content.
There we go. There's Patreon and that.
There
right
you go, folks. For like your classes and stuff, is there any way you recommend folks find you, or would you like to be found?
I don't. To be completely clear, I don't really necessarily teach those classes regularly here in the city. I might be hosting that class on my own in the fall. I usually do it through other programs like AT.
Gotcha.
Or I've been like contracted out. Like I said, I was just down in Florida. I might actually do the whole 2, because I don't usually get to do the whole 2 hours here in the city because it's part of other larger programs.
For sure.
So I might do the full 2 hour in the fall when I get back from my summer stuff. But you can find me. I do have a very, very severely out of date website, jasonwetzelmusic.com. But at least you can look at like my bio and my resume on there.
For sure.
And contact me.
We got to get that updated.
It's also jasonwetzelmusic@gmail.com. You email me. I do all the things. I coach and I do tracks and arrangements, and you need a pianist for your cabaret show, or you need orchestrations and charts, and I need this song transposed, and Music Notes doesn't have my key, or here's a recording of a song and I need it lifted because I can't find the sheet music anywhere.
Yeah.
Although there are some really great websites now that do that, I might be a little cheaper.
Great.
But anyway, yeah.
There you
I
go,
do
folks.
all the musical things.
As we established, he's the best in the biz, so make sure you take advantage of that. Yeah, thank you so much, Jason, first of all, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And until next week, folks, bye. From BA to Broadway is created, produced, and edited by Brennan Stefanik, music by Dylan Kaufman, and cover art by Jordan Vongsithi.